In 2015, I set off on a mission to try and ride a unicycle around the world. I left from the UK, across Europe and Asia and Australasia and North America, and ultimately, after riding 22,000 miles, I arrived back in the UK after having completed a lap of the globe. It was simultaneously the most difficult but most enjoyable thing I've ever tried to do, and if you're watching this video, then there's a high chance you've seen some of the videos I produced from this trip. This is the unicycle that brought me around the world. It is a 36-inch Nimbus Oracle from Unicycle.com, and it served me very, very well. Since arriving back home 5 years ago, I really haven't unicycled that much. I've headed out on various different adventures, I've tried different things, but the unicycle has stayed tucked away, basically unused. But recently, I've kind of been feeling the itch again to get back on one wheel. But I decided that if I was going to do another trip on a unicycle, I wanted to do it in a slightly different way than I did with the World Tour. Thank you FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. On the World Tour, I was primarily sticking to roads. There were occasions where I was routed off onto kind of rougher tracks and rougher terrain, but given the choice, I was sticking to roads. And that's where having this size wheel really helps, because unicycles, they're fixed gear machines. So the size of the wheel determines your gearing, and it determines basically how fast you're going to travel. This machine was wonderful when it was smooth tarmac, but it wasn't so great when the terrain got bumpier. And I decided that if I was going to head out on another unicycle tour, I wanted to try and attempt to do it off-road, and I didn't think this was the right unicycle for the job. Which is where this unicycle comes in. As you can see, the wheel is considerably smaller. So this is my new touring unicycle. It's again a Nimbus Oracle from Unicycle.com, but this one has a 27.5-inch wheel. I've recently been talking with Roger from Unicycle.com in the UK, and he's agreed to give subscribers of this channel a 5% discount on all unicycles site-wide. So that's everything from the high-end machines I use to the beginner unis you may want to pick up if you'd like to start learning. All you have to do is head over to the page I've linked in the description, copy the coupon code, and then apply it at checkout. Now, there are pros and cons to having a wheel this size. The pros are that you can take it off-road much more easily, but if you want to go at the same speed as the 36er, you have to pedal much faster. Just like my 36er, this new unicycle has a bunch of framework that's attached all over it, and that's so I can carry all of my luggage for the trip. I'm kind of talking about this trip like I haven't done it. I have already done it. I was away for the whole of September. I'm going to showcase a little teaser trailer of this series at the end of this video, but for now I'm just going to talk about the unicycle and how I got it set up. So I wanted to build out this unicycle in a slightly different way than I did with the 36er. With this one, my grandfather turned a bunch of these sections on his lathe, and then the kind of mudguardy section he built out. With this one, I wanted to use many more off-the-shelf parts. And the reason I did that is because A, I wanted to build something quite quickly, but B, I wanted to make something that could potentially be repeated. So if someone else wanted to go out and tour on a unicycle, then they could potentially take inspiration from what I've done here. So to be able to hold luggage on the rear of the unicycle, I've actually just simply used this seat post rack from Topeak. But this design was inspired by a lady called Rebecca Wiedner, who this summer rode her unicycle across the European divide. And this allows me to lash 2 dry bags, one top, one bottom, to be able to hold quite a lot of luggage. So this rack simply bolts onto the frame down here. And if you're wondering what these 2 bits of steel are, initially when I was riding the unicycle, I was finding that even if I got this as tight as I possibly could, it was still rotating about the frame, and that's why I added these 2 bits of mild steel. Now, for the handlebar setup, the key piece is this bit here, which bolts onto the seat post. This is an off-the-shelf part from a tandem bike, but I've just taken this piece. I've threaded a steel tube which is the right diameter inside it. This one I've bent so that it doesn't knock into the front of the saddle here. And then on the end of it is a standard bike stem. It's a short one. And then from there I've got this steel piece of tube which then allows me to put the grips on the front. You may be wondering why you would want handlebars on a unicycle, and there's 2 reasons. The first is just for comfort. You want to be able to have somewhere to put your hands when you're riding along. But the other reason is for a setup like this, it just gives you more places to be able to lash your luggage. So you can see on the front of this one, I've got a water bottle, which I've attached with a cage and some hose clamps here. Attached to the tube, I've got this small restrap bag, and then below this, I've got this system which I've built out. And I know I said I was trying to build it with as many off-the-shelf components as I could. Well, this I found I needed to build myself in order to be able to get more weight on the front. And this is basically a little shelf which I've built out of these pieces of marred steel. And this gives me somewhere to very securely attach a 1.5 litre bottle of water, and this allows me to balance out the back. This framework is attached to the Unicycle in 4 places. These are just pieces of marred steel which I've bent into shape around the sides of the frame, drilled holes in, and then it's bolted together, and that then sandwiches the frame and keeps it nice and sturdy. I'm personally really proud with how this whole build came together, and I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that during the off-road tour that I took this Unicycle on, it held up incredibly well. I'm currently working on the videos from this new Unicycle tour, the first of which will come out at the start of December, so do subscribe if you don't want to miss these. And I'm actually going to release a small preview at the end of this video, so please stick around for that. But first, I want to talk about my desk setup. Before using a dedicated stand-up desk like this, I was either working hunched over my laptop or on top of my DIY chest of drawers setup. Neither were very comfortable at all, which is why I'm very happy to promote FlexiSpot's products. This one is the E7 Pro. It has a small keypad mounted to one side, which allows you to save custom heights. The bamboo desktop I have is 160 by 80 centimeters, which gives me plenty of space to position my monitor, laptop and speakers without feeling cramped. And I really like the fact that this desk comes with a cable management tray to keep things organized underneath. I've personally found that by using a stand-up desk, I get much less lethargic during my long editing sessions, and I no longer experience the back pain I used to experience sitting all day long. FlexiSpot are currently running their Black Friday sale, where they're offering a massive discount on this E7 Pro desk if you pre-order before the 23rd of November. So if you've been thinking about upgrading your own setup, now's the perfect time. Thank you FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video, and now as promised, here's the quick preview to my new Unicycle touring series. Hello there, and welcome to Latvia. For the next few weeks, I'm going to be following what's called the Baltic Forest Trail through the country down towards Lithuania. It's a hiking trail, but I'm not going to be hiking it. I'm going to be attempting to unicycle it. This sort of single track, when it gets so overgrown, you can't see the path. It is mushroom season at the moment.
This is Borovik, very good, but this is one of the best.
It's a little bit frothy, but I think that solves the water problem. That's ridiculously steep. Is there more? Is there more to say?
No.
It's a very inconvenient tree, that. Oh, we're just gonna go in! Check out my crusty socks. I've worn these every day so far.
It's a gift for you.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this makes me feel better or worse, having this hand flare. I finally feel like I've sort of settled into unicycle touring again. It's taken a couple of days, but it feels right.